Welcome to the Siam Center Law Group podcast. Today we will discuss an important legal issue that affects many people's daily lives: receiving stolen property. We will explore the factors courts consider when ruling on such cases and provide guidelines on how to avoid unintentionally becoming a suspect. Receiving stolen property is a criminal offense that occurs when someone buys or possesses assets obtained through illegal activities. A key issue in legal proceedings is proving whether the recipient knew or should have known that the property in question was acquired unlawfully. Courts assess various factors to determine whether the buyer or possessor is guilty. Let's take a closer look at these factors. Factors considered by the court: price of the property. If the acquired property is priced significantly lower than the market value, the court may consider it an indication of the buyer's dishonesty. A reasonable person would suspect that the item might be stolen. However, if the price is fair, such as that of a typical second-hand item, it may be considered a good faith purchase. Usage of the property. If the buyer openly uses the property, such as using a phone or driving a car without attempting to hide it, it may suggest that they were unaware it was stolen. Conversely, if they conceal the item or act suspiciously, it may serve as evidence of criminal intent. Nature of the property. Certain types of property should not be openly bought or sold, such as government-marked items or goods that are generally restricted from legal trade. If a buyer knows this but still proceeds with the purchase, the court may conclude they had criminal intent. Occupation of the buyer and seller. The buyer. If the buyer is involved in second-hand trading, it may be understandable why they purchased the item. However, if they have no relevant background, such as a lawyer buying construction tools from an unreliable source, it may raise suspicion. The seller. If the seller's financial status does not align with the property being sold, e.g., a young teenager selling an expensive item or a known criminal offering goods, the buyer should reasonably suspect the item may be stolen. Location and timing of the transaction. Purchasing from a reputable store during normal business hours is generally acceptable. Transactions in secluded areas or at odd hours, e.g., late at night, may indicate involvement in criminal activity. Behavior toward authorities. A buyer who cooperates with law enforcement demonstrates good faith. If the buyer hesitates, withholds information, or attempts to flee, it may suggest involvement in wrongdoing. Legal conclusion. In cases of receiving stolen property, the burden of proof lies with the prosecution. They must demonstrate that the buyer knew or should have known that the property was stolen. If there is insufficient evidence, the court may not convict the accused, as criminal law requires strict interpretation in favor of the defendant. Recommendations to avoid legal trouble. Buyers should follow these precautions. Verify the source of the property before purchasing. Avoid purchasing items with suspiciously low prices. Request documentation, such as receipts or proof of ownership. If in doubt, consult law enforcement or relevant authorities. By following these steps, buyers can minimize their risk of legal entanglement and protect themselves from potential criminal charges. Thank you for tuning in to the Siam Center Law Group podcast. For more legal insights, stay tuned for our next episode. Goodbye.